Our favorite Southern Belle, Rogue, is being added to Season 5.5 of Marvel Rivals, a frontline brawling vanguard that specializes in disrupting the enemy through displacement effects. She has a lot of moves that move both her and her opponents, stuns, knocks, and the unique ability to drain ultimate charge from targets. Overall, Rogue is definitely a vanguard made for duelist-style players, especially those divers and flankers. Her playstyle just feels very much like what you would expect from those players to be able to perform, and has some really high APM requirement as well as some combo understanding that's going to make her a lot more difficult to play for the average player. She comes in at 5 stars of difficulty, and I do think that's pretty close to deserved. Looking at her kit, it can feel like it's a little bit basic, but actually playing her and getting into the games, you can feel the complexity in the decision making, as well as the combos, positioning, and control over the fight that you have to have. She takes some advanced knowledge. You also have to remember all of the different powers that she can absorb from every different target, and know the best way to utilize all those powers, upping her complexity even more. Her basic attacks do a pretty standard amount of damage, and you're just going to be weaving these in throughout combat all the time. Holding down the left mouse button is pretty much necessary here because you're going to want to constantly be doing damage to all targets, and you don't have to worry about breaking any of your crowd controls or anything like that. Her main form of mitigation is her defensive stance. Activating your secondary fire, you're going to bring up a block for a short duration. This will block incoming damage, reducing it but not eliminating it. You can hold this block for about 3 seconds before the stamina bar depletes. But it has a special additional feature. Any hits you block is going to build up this yellow bar beside your stamina bar. While you still have stamina, you can unleash a basic attack to unleash a Southern Brawl, launching yourself forward towards a target and doing a burst cone effective damage at the target based off how much damage that you blocked. At full charge, this does around 150 damage, really chunking down duelists and strategists. Rogue's very good at punishing players for focusing damage in on her. As a vanguard, you can absorb a lot of damage, and you can unleash this powerful punch, chunking down targets. As long as you have stamina, you can keep raising this up with no cooldown, and you're able to continuously use it to block short amounts of damage, building up your charge, and then before you run out of stamina, you can unleash that savage attack. Chrono Kick combo is both her main output for damage, as well as her main mobility tool. She'll launch herself forward and perform a cartwheel kick. Then she'll jump up in the air and gain a short duration slow flight. Any target that she hits with this cartwheel kick will get launched along with her, and she'll be able to perform moves while in the sky targeting them. This ability also transforms her basic attack from punches over to 2 kicks. These kicks are empowered with extra damage and have a wide sweeping area of contact. Each of these kicks also gives you a burst of bonus 50 HP. While you have these empowered kicks active, you also shoot out a projectile with your basic attacks that goes about 15 meters. It does a chunk of damage to targets and can snipe out targets from a distance. While airborne, you can see this indicator on the ground, and you can reactivate E to slam down at that location. Any targets in the air with you will be slammed down at the same point, and all targets in the impact area take a chunk of damage. Main combo we see with this is to activate the Chrono Kick, do a basic attack, block, and Southern Brawl while the target is airborne. Reactivate the ability to slam them down on the ground, and unleash one more kick. This is going to absolutely shred targets, and should be a really great way to take out duelists. This ability can also be used just for mobility. The dash is pretty quick, and the flight then gives you control over where you're moving to, and can allow you to land on higher areas or get out of dangerous situations. Really good rogues are constantly planning their different abilities if they're going to use them for the main effect or if they're going to use them for mobility. Since each ability has a short duration dash on it, you can definitely get out of line of sight of enemies if you have a couple of cooldowns available. Her left shift ability is another dash. She launches herself forward, and then she has a new ability to reactivate. A circle will appear around her, dealing damage to all targets in the area, and after a brief delay, she'll pull all targets in that zone towards the center. This has some amazing combo potential with the different abilities, and is such a disruptive tool. Pulling targets towards you generally disrupts what players want to do, and can line everybody up for a good Chrono Kick to send them airborne. Launch yourself in, pull enemies in, launch them airborne, kick, slam them down to the ground, kick again, and you're going to have some dead players. This is another ability in your kit that you're also just going to be using sometimes just for mobility to get yourself around the field. The final of her basic abilities is ability absorption. With the F key, she'll again launch herself forward. If she comes in contact with another player, she's going to tackle them, send them down to the ground, and channel energy out of them. During this channel, she receives some healing, and then she applies an effect to the target. First up, based off the target, she's going to gain an ability. When looking at targets, you can see this indicator above their head, and that shows you what ability they're going to give if you use ability absorption on them. You're going to have to watch our guide for every ability that she can gain, but here's some really high priority ones. Loki gives her regenerative domain. This thing is insanely powerful. Adam Warlock gives you soul bond, allowing you to link your entire team's HP together and making it so that almost nobody is going to fall. The Thing gives you a pretty powerful ability to reduce incoming damage and block yourself from being moved. You can't receive displacement effects while you have the thing's effect. And Emma Frost gives you Diamond Form, which stops you from receiving any crowd control effects and reduces incoming damage. There are definitely some duds out there though, like Jeff, who gives you the ability to spit out 3 bubbles, or Hela, who just gives you a single shot of her stun orb. These are not nearly as impactful as some of the other abilities, and you should be going for characters that are going to give you longer duration buffs or high-powered offensive abilities. If they don't have one of these indicators, instead of giving you ability, it's going to reset the cooldown of your fatal attraction. That's your shift dash. So you can shift dash, pull enemies in, grab a target that doesn't give you a buff, and then you're able to shift dash again, pulling targets into the center once more. In addition to this, she's going to give herself a buff, as well as give the target a debuff based off the type of target. If she grabs a strategist, she reduces their healing output, and gives herself constant healing over time for the full duration that she has the target's ability. If she grabs a duelist, she reduces their damage output by 10% and gives her a 10% damage buff. If she grabs a vanguard, she increases her maximum HP to 800. That's a 125 HP boost. She then also steals 20 maximum HP from the target. On launch, she has a team up with Gambit, which when she activates will make it so that her basic attacks do AoE damage to enemies and healing to allies in a small area. This is an extremely powerful team up, and I love the fact that the married couple buffs each other up, but we do know that it is not going to last forever, so it might not be there when you're finally playing this character, as they do regular team up changes every season. Heartbreaker is her ultimate ability. This creates a zone around her for 8 seconds that deals constant damage to all enemies in the area, gives her those passive buffs that she gains if she channels her ability absorption into targets, so she'll get constant healing over time if there are strategists, increased damage output if there are duelists, and increased maximum HP if there are vanguards, and it drains the target's ultimate charge percentage. You can see the current ultimate charge bar of all enemies in the zone, and you can see it slowly draining down while she's in the effect. This is extremely powerful, and she can shut down enemy teams before they're able to get their powerful moves off. If you can leap into the enemies and activate this while their ultimates are full, you'll immediately drain them down to stop them from using their ults, and your team might be able to wipe up the entire fight before they get those abilities back. The drain is about 2% per second over the 8 seconds, so you can get a decent amount of their energy drained off. While this does give you some constant healing over time, it is not an invincibility ultimate. Even if there's 5 targets in it, you don't channel enough to keep yourself constantly alive, and you're not immune to incoming damage. As a Vanguard, Rogue is more of a frontliner than a flanker, and she's definitely supposed to be taking focus from the enemy team. But due to her lower HP and not a lot of mitigation, she's definitely not a solo Vanguard. She can't handle the focus of entire teams, and she needs to be taking a couple of targets down at a time. She should be looking for side targets that have made themselves vulnerable and disrupting them through her knockbacks and other displacement abilities. You should have a general plan of whose ability you want to absorb in the fight and what the best benefit to get in the situation is. You really need to get good at using terrain to block incoming damage and to use your mobility to get out of line of sight regularly. It's going to be very tempting to use all of your different dashes to stick yourself to a single target and to be combat engaged all the time. However, it's going to be most beneficial to make sure that you're saving some of your dashes to get yourself out of danger. A dead tank is a major problem for your team, and you're definitely a little bit easier to take down than some of the other Vanguards. Plan which abilities you're going to use to engage with, and which abilities you're going to use to escape. I'd highly recommend holding your Chrono Kick combo unless you see an opening to get a kill. Don't just use it for standard damage output, and instead use it to plan out executions on targets. Dash in with your shift and pull targets towards the center while doing basic attacks. Do an ability absorb to stun a target and gain a quick power up and unleash that power on the target if it's a damaging one. If a target's now super low HP and going to be able to be taken out, you can do a Chrono Kick and possibly take them out in the air or slam them into the ground a little bit of ways away from their team and get that isolation kill. Or you can use the Chrono Kick to go airborne and fly yourself around to a different angle. You can use your Southern Brawl block dash to be able to dash around corners while airborne, so if you get up into the air, block and do a basic attack to get a burst of movement speed, and use any of your other dashes you have available if you need to escape. If you have a fleeing target, you can use your dash to get yourself some airborne, and then unleash your ranged kick attacks to chase down the target. The surprise range coming out of Rogue can definitely take targets out that we're not expecting it. If you don't manage to take them down with this, you can still use the E-dive to chase them further. The most common problem you're going to have while playing this character is that you burn through your abilities really quickly, and then you have nothing left in your tank. She doesn't do any extraordinary amounts of damage, and her output can easily be healed off. It's mostly about her disruption that makes her useful. So make sure while you're comboing on targets that you're using your stuns, pull in, and knock up to disrupt how they are moving throughout the fight, and make it easier to take the targets down. Get them out of line of sight of their ally strategists, or away from any allies that can protect them. Be confident, as you are a frontline vanguard that can absorb a decent amount of damage, but don't be reckless. You're not able to absorb the full damage output of an enemy team. And remember, the most useful ability of your kit is the ability to drain down enemy ultimate charge. Hold your ultimate for ideal situations in combat. Get yourself near the enemy strategist before you activate it to make sure you lock them out of their ability to save their team. If the enemy strategists have already put out any of their ultimates, you probably want to hold yours until the healing effect ends. Unless you're worried about another powerful ability from maybe one of the duelists, you can wait until the healing effect is gone and then use your ultimate for big damage and absolute shredding of the enemy team. With this guide, you have a better understanding of how to play the absorption hero, Rogue. I'm Zesty Fresh from Sazaze Games, and we'll catch you guys next time. Sazaze.